Welcome to the assembly video for Cosmic Pi version 1.6, and right now we're going to show you how to build a Cosmic Pi from live air components. To start off with, you need to have one case. So this is a Hammond manufactured case which we've had customized. So customization are these holes which enable the circuit board to poke out the front. The first stage is to print your sticker and then to cut the sticker out and then to stick the sticker on the front. We're not going to do that in this demo. When that's done, you can start with your case. So the case comes in two halves. The top, you can tell it's the top because it has a solid front face, and a bottom. You can tell it has a bottom because it has two holes. This is where the screws go to hold the top on. We have pre-drilled it in a cross formation, so two holes, two holes, two holes. These holes are about 6 millimeters in diameter, and that is for the supports. So these are the supports which will hold the scintillators, so they are screwed in there. So the next stage of assembly is to wrap your scintillators. So here I have two scintillators. They are made by a company called Amkris in the Ukraine, which is where we get our scintillators from for this batch. And what we need to do is we need to wrap them in silver foil. So here's some basically regular kitchen foil that we use to wrap this around. Out here I've laid out all my pieces. So in order to finish the slabs will be delivered with two holes, one hole here and one hole here. Which are about 3.5 millimeters, so just slightly larger than an M3. And then what we do is we put a little bit of epoxy in there, and then we insert one of these M3 grub screws. I don't know if we can have a close-up. So we just poke one of these into the hole, and we leave a piece of the thread sticking out, and the important thing is to get it as parallel as possible to the slab, because we're going to use these later to fix. So we put those in. We leave it to dry, then we wrap the slab in tin foil, we seal it with black tape, black PVC, and then our slab is finished. So this is what a finished slab looks like. So we've even taped the serial number onto this one. So here you can see the two M3 grub screws poking out. The other very important detail to point out is this little window. So this window enables our sensor to see inside the slab, where it's going to capture the light of the cosmic rays. Okay. The next stage, so we take two scintillator slabs, wrap them both. So I'm going to pick this one, and we put them together. We can see that the windows line up, and now we're going to mount these onto the PCB. So here's our PCB for the Cosmic Pi, and you can see that this part actually snaps off. So this is the main part of the board with all the electronics on it, and this is the SiPM breakout. So here we have two K-Tech 3x3mm SiPMs, which are wired up to the pins. We also have two very little LEDs, D7 and D8, which we can use to inject light into the slab for calibration and testing purposes. So to mount this, we'll take one of our slabs first. We line it up so that the holes go through, and then again from our set of materials we're going to take washers. So we're going to take one M3 washer, we're going to put it over the piece of the grub screw that sticks out, and then we're going to tighten up one M3 nut onto the back of that, and then we'll repeat this again for the second slab so that we have both of them. It's very important to make sure that the window that we have in the cut lines up with the SiPM. So in fact this slab I had it in the wrong way around. So here probably can't quite see, but now it is aligned so that the SiPM can see inside the slab and the rest of it is wrapped tight. I think we can cut. So now we've mounted the first of our slabs to our SiPM board. You can see here we have our two grub screws which protrude. We put a washer on those and then a nylon nut, and we tighten them to be just finger tight. So this is the bottom slab, and then the second slab will go on top. Before we put the second slab on top, just going to take a little bit of this, which is effectively a adhesive backed foam, and I'm going to stick this to the end of the slab on the top. Okay, just like that. This separates the slabs, gives us a little bit of give, but doesn't force them apart too much. This is about, I'd say, 1 centimetre, 15 millimetres, 2 centimetres this time. And the slab is, the foam is about 4 millimetres thick, thereabouts. And to be honest, a few sheets of paper will probably do the job just fine. So now we're going to put in our second slab. So we'll just line it up, put it through the holes, make sure that the SiPM is aligned. And then we're going to put on our 2 washers, 1 and 2, and our 2 M3 nylon nuts. Again, just doing these hand tight. There's no need to torque them up too much. Okay, so this is now a fully assembled scintillator package. You can see at the back the fact that we put this rubber in, kind of there's a little bit of flex there in the foam, and this will help to keep the slabs stable and for them not to rub against each other. This piece is nearly finished. One more thing to do. So now from our selection of materials, I'm going to take these 2 M3 angle brackets. So on one side we have an M3 threaded hole, on the other side we have just a standard M3 hole, and these go in here and here, and they help us to mechanically fix our circuit boards together. So the ones that I'm going to do first are the horizontal screws. So we just put the screw through there, we take our M3 nut, and again we'll just do this up finger tight. The important thing is that we keep the other part of the angle vertically flat, aligned with the edge of the board. The reason why we use the non-threaded hole for this side is just that it's a lot easier to access. When we put the other piece through, then it will go underneath the circuit board. So we need to do that from the bottom. Okay, so just put this nut on here. So we've added the 2 angles to the bottom of our PCB for the SiPMs, and now we have our main board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit this together. I'm going to line it up so that our 8 pins go in our 8 holes. This is quite a sensitive alignment. Oops. And we should not force too hard because the pins will bend very easily. There we go, there's 1 set and 2 sets. So they're both in. And now when we look on the bottom of the board, we can see that we have 2 holes here where we're going to put our screws, which will mechanically fix the 2 boards together. So we've just tightened these 2 up, so now we have a relatively rigid, so it kind of just about holds itself, but we're not going to leave it to support its own weight, we're going to put in some additional supports. So for the next stage of our assembly, we're going to insert these C pieces, which will support the scintillators, and hopefully they'll be able to be shipped in one piece. So the way we're going to do this, you can see that there are 2 holes here and 2 holes here, and these align pretty much perfectly. We're going to put screws in the outside hole, first of all, and then we're going to pivot them a little so we can put the scintillators in place. We're going to snap them back into position, and then we're going to put the second screw in to fix them. So I'm just going to do this one whilst you watch. Skip over to having done them all. So we just line up the hole, put this one in, use a screwdriver, and we'll just tighten this up. So I've inserted all the C's, 4 screws, and I've aligned them so that they're going to let us put the slab in, and then we're going to twist it. So the next thing to do is to take our faceplate with our sticker on it, and we're going to line this up like this over our ports. And this drops in to the front of the enclosure. So there's a little slot here, just pop that in, and now you can see how it sits. So we're just going to squeeze the slabs a little with one hand, and then we're going to rotate the C-pieces, being careful not to rip any of the aluminium foil. It might scratch it a little bit, might fold it a little bit, but we don't want any tears in it. Cut. Just a little snag here with this piece. We can't quite rotate it because there is a boss in the bottom of the enclosure which is blocking it. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, we're going to unscrew this one, we're going to align it without any screws, and then we're going to put the screws in. So we just realign this without the screws. I'm just going to put the first screw in, and I'm going to hold it on the underside so that we don't deform anything. So now all three of our supports are aligned, and we are going to put in after this one the second set of screws, which will fix them into position. So there we go, so that one is now done. And now we take our next three screws. These are M4 wood screws, and we pre-drill the C's so that they fit. So we'll do another.
Yeah.
Right now we've secured our scintillators, so a little bit of lines on the silver foil, but no rips, so that's good. What we're going to do now is put in the final M3 screws into 4 holes in the PCB, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, which secure the board into the housing. So now we put in all 4 mounting screws. These just thread into the plastic, so again, a few turns, make sure they're well in, but don't over tighten them. If you over tighten them, you'll strip the thread, and then you'll need to put some glue to hold them in future. And now for the final stage of mechanical assembly, we have our Raspberry Pi 0WH, we have our SD card. So before you insert the SD card, make sure it has the Cosmic Pi image on it. Put this in, and we take our Raspberry Pi, we flip it over so we can see the back of the board. We align it with the first pin in here, and then we just push it into place, and it's done. Now all we need to do is to put the lid on, 4 feet on the bottom, and 2 screws to hold on the case, and that's it.